After resting a single day in the city of Visala, the sage Viswamitra gathered the two young princes and set out again, their road bending now toward Mithila. Rama and Lakshmana walked lightly through the awakening countryside, bright with purpose, while the old sage's staff kept steady time upon the path. Ahead of them, though none yet spoke of it, an ancient sorrow lay waiting to be undone. Not far from Mithila, the travelers came upon a hermitage half hidden among ancient trees. Once it must have been lovely, but now creepers choked its huts. Fallen leaves lay thick upon its paths, and a strange stillness hung over the whole grove. No smoke rose, no voice called. The beautiful abode seemed wholly deserted, as though time itself had forgotten it. Rama's eyes lingered on the forsaken place, and he turned to his guide. "Whose is this hermitage among such old and noble trees?" he asked. "Why does so fair a dwelling stand empty and abandoned?" Viswamitra paused, and a shadow of old memory crossed his stern face, for he knew well the grief that had emptied those quiet courts. "This ashram lies under a curse," the sage began. "Here once dwelt the great Rishi Gautama with his wife Ahalya, a woman of rare and radiant beauty. Their days passed in peace and holy meditation. The fire tended, the hymn sung, the forest hushed around their devotion. No happier hermitage stood in all the land, until one fateful hour undid it. One day, while Gautama was far off at his devotions, Indra, the very king of the gods, came stealing toward the hermitage, inflamed with a forbidden longing for the lovely Ahalya, veiling his celestial radiance in a borrowed shape. He took upon himself the exact likeness of the sage himself, and crossed the threshold with deceit hidden deep in his heart. In the guise of her own husband, Indra came before Ahalya and pressed his desire upon her with urgent, honeyed words. The hermitage lay quite around them. The true Gautama was nowhere near, and the god, drunk on his own daring, believed the trick complete. Never guessing how much the woman before him truly saw, Ahalya was not truly fooled. She pierced the disguise and knew the god who stood beneath it. Yet vanity stirred where wisdom should have ruled, a proud thrill that the Lord of Heaven himself desired her. And in that fatal moment, her judgment failed. Against all she knew to be right, she yielded to him. The sin no sooner done, its full horror broke upon Ahalya. She thought of her husband's fierce spiritual power, of the wrath that awaited discovery, and terror seized her. "Go, go swiftly," she begged Indra, "before he returns and destroys us both." The god, his courage curdling into fear, turned at once to flee. Indra bolted from the hermitage in guilty panic and ran headlong into disaster. At the very edge of the grove stood Gautama, returned from his river ablutions, his wet garments clinging, his whole body blazing with the luster of penance. The two met face to face, and before that all-seeing gaze, the god's stolen disguise was worth nothing at all. There was no hiding from a wisdom that saw all, his trick undone. Indra abandoned his borrowed shape and cast himself down at the Rishi's feet, bowing low in abject supplication, pleading for a mercy he had done nothing to deserve. The Lord of the gods grovelled in the dust before the master of penance he had so basely wronged. But Gautama's heart was full of wrath and loathing. "Beast of lust," he thundered, "blind to all truth and virtue, since your manhood drove you to this outrage, let that manhood wither and fall away from you." The words struck like lightning, and heaven's proud king, in the space of a breath, was stripped of the very power he had so basely misused. In that instant, the curse took hold. Unmanned and humiliated, Indra slunk away from the hermitage and crept back to the shining courts of the Devas. No longer their bold and swaggering lord, but a figure of shame. The gods looked upon their fallen king in silence, and heaven itself seemed dimmed by his disgrace. Then Gautama turned to his erring wife. His anger had spent itself. What remained was a grave and sorrowful justice. Ahalya stood trembling before him, her guilt naked in her eyes, and the sage, who had loved her, prepared to pronounce the long atonement that her fault now demanded of her. You shall dwell here sustained by air alone, hidden from every eye, he told her. The long years will pass until a son of King Dasharatha comes down this road and steps within these walls. His coming shall break the curse. Receive him as an honored guest, and in that are your purity and your beauty shall return to you, his home defiled and his heart heavy. Gautama would dwell there no longer. He gathered his few things and set his face toward the Himalayas, to lose his sorrow in fierce austerities among the snows. Behind him the hermitage fell silent, its fire cold, its master gone, its mistress frozen and hidden. And so the long years began. So it was, Viswamitra told them, that year upon year, Ahalya had lain there, turned to grey and silent stone, veiled behind leaves and creeping vines, unseen and unforgotten, faithfully keeping her long vow. The whole desolate ashram Rama now beheld was the very shape of one woman's patient penance, waiting through the ages for a promised deliverer. Viswamitra's stern face softened, and he turned to the prince. Come, Rama, let us enter this ashram. You are the one the sage foretold. Your feet upon this ground will bring redemption to Ahalya and rekindle the light that has so long lain quenched within her. Rama bowed his head, humbled by the sacred task set before him. Together the three passed beneath the ancient trees and into the hushed and sacred grove. Their footsteps fell soft on the leaf-strewn earth. The silence seemed to hold its breath about them. Rama walked ahead, not knowing exactly where the miracle would fall, yet certain that with each step he drew nearer to an act long promised by the fates. The moment Rama's foot touched the sacred ground, the long curse shattered like glass. The grey stone stirred, softened, and warmed. The frozen years fell away, and Ahalya rose before them, whole and living, restored to all her radiant beauty, where a lifeless figure had lain. A woman of luminous grace now stood, blinking into the light of her deliverance. So long had she lain concealed behind leaf and vine, so faithfully had she kept her vow, that her return seemed a marvel to behold. She shone, the poets say, like the moon slipping free of cloud, like a bright flame leaping clear of its smoke, like the sun's own image dancing upon rippling water. Beauty long hidden, suddenly revealed. In reverence, Rama and Lakshmana came forward and bowed low, touching the feet of the sage's wife, whom long penance had made pure again. They honored not the fault that had fallen behind her, but the years of patient suffering that had washed it wholly away. And Ahalya received their homage with quiet, grateful grace. Her home stirred back to life around her. Ahalya welcomed the two divine princes as honored guests, offering them water and fruit, and every gracious rite of hospitality that custom asked. What had been a tomb of silence became once more a hermitage of warmth, and joy returned, shy and wondering. to the long forsaken grove. Then heaven itself gave its blessing. From the clear sky, a soft shower of blossoms came drifting down over the hermitage, settling in Ahalya's hair and at her feet. Cleansed at last of her ancient sin, she stood among the falling flowers and shone like a goddess come to earth, forgiven, radiant, and whole. And in that very hour, the long separation ended. Down from the northern heights came Gautama, his austerities complete, his anger long since cooled to compassion. He entered his ashram once more and took his repentant, purified wife back into his affection. Husband and wife stood reunited, their broken years healed at last by penance and forgiveness. Thus ended Ahalya's long ordeal. In her story lies a gentle and enduring truth that no sin, however grievous, lies wholly beyond redemption if it be met with true penitence and patiently borne suffering. The fall may be terrible, yet the road back is never entirely closed to a heart that turns again toward the good. Rama took from the tale a quiet lesson that we do better to search our own hearts than to judge another's fall. For even the wisest must keep unceasing watch against sin. Then the prince, the sage, and Lakshman left the blessed grove behind and turned once more toward Mithila, where a great bow and a greater destiny awaited them.